Hello everybody, this is Forecast You reporting in. Today is October 22nd, 2014, Wednesday evening. I just want to talk to you a little bit about the upcoming U.S. midterm elections for 2014. They're just about 2 weeks away from now. They'll be early November, the first week of November. And that's pretty soon, 2 weeks away. There's been not that much fanfare in the news about the elections. I hardly feel like it's an election year at all. Campaigning has been very light and limited that I've seen on the web. Organizations that I'm a member of that normally send me a lot of email, tell me to get out and vote and campaign, I have heard almost not a peep as far as email campaigns and blasts out of those groups that I normally expect. So that's been really surprising. And I've seen little news in the news about it also. I had to really dig around. That being the case, I think a lot of different things can swing the election very easily because it's not easy to measure likely voter turnout that's likely to happen. But when there's low voter turnout, usually the Republicans do have the advantage in those cases. And a lot of people that are making predictions are talking about the unhappiness with Obama, the Obama regime's performance, especially with this Ebola problem. But also the economy hasn't really picked up in reality. They're saying it's picked up, but everybody knows it hasn't improved in 6 years since Obama took office. Or since 6 years since he got elected. Yes, 5.5 years since he took office. So really, they're saying, Obama, and they're kind of blaming the Democrats on Obama, rightly or wrongly, fair or unfair, that's just the way it happens. And taking a second look at the Republicans, and people have been unhappy with the Republicans for a long time. Their appeal base has gotten very narrow, but they're saying, well, maybe we'll give them a second go. And that's kind of how I see it looking like. The news reports that I'm reading are predicting that the Republicans are probably going to retake the Congress and maybe also the Senate. This thing on Bing, and also just kind of measuring the zeitgeist of people in society and just the feeling that the temperature in the community in general seems like it's leaning back toward the Republicans. Not that they're any better, just they're frustrated with the current situation. That's just how I see it. This is on Bing. Bing had an interesting tool here. It's called U.S. Election 2014 Predictions. This little tool they made popped up. And I don't know if it's right or wrong, but it's, in my opinion, if I had to make a guess, and again, it's hard to know which way the election's going to go because there's so many wild cards in it. And participation seems low, which means it's very hard to predict. But if I had to make a prediction based on the zeitgeist, the kind of the temperature in the community, it does seem like it's the Republicans have a slight advantage, and that's kind of what they show also in their poll. And this is the one for the Reds are Republicans and the Blues here are Democrats. I think it ought to be the other way around. I think it ought to be the Reds are the Democrats and the Blues are Republicans, because I associate Reds with communism and socialism, but oh well, who knows how they got that red state blue state thing labeled anyway. So anyhow, we have the Senate here and the projections there, and then they have kind of a percent scenario thing breakdown here. 14% chance that they'll get this many and that many, and 21% chance. This is a bold thing that they're doing, that they're allowing this prediction tool on Bing to come out, because they're privy to a lot of search information. So I'm surprised they've come out and done this, because it maybe we'll see if it's politically controversial them doing this. And let's go ahead and look at the House version. Okay, the House isn't there. Let's see here. That's great. It was there a minute ago. And okay, so we go to the House tool. As you expect, the rural areas are predominantly Republican favoring, and the more urban areas tend to be favoring the Democrats. Looks like a strong sweep is predicted in the Congress and the House, and that's I think we're likely to see that. This could be like Clinton in '94, or the later part of the Clinton regime, when the Republicans took back control of the Congress in a strong way. And I think we're going to see that again. This is not because the Republicans are perfect people, but just because there's frustration with Obama regime and with the way things are headed. Obama's done basically the opposite of what he said in his early campaign promises. it's incredible he's not in jail for fraud, in my opinion. But let's look at the governor races here. And again, some interesting action to see. Balance of power. I don't know if the Republicans will take this much of it, but I do think that they will take control of the House at this point. I think that's very likely to happen. The Senate, I don't know. It could be a toss-up, but I think this is accurate. That they are probably going to take control of the House in Congress. That'll be interesting to see how that plays out. The Gallup poll. I mean, you have heard nothing about the poll in the news, hardly at all. But one interesting article they had on opinion was, why are parents less involved in this year's election? And you can hypothecate why that is, but it definitely seems like that is the case, that there is simply not as much interest as there normally is in election years, especially given so many people's frustration with the way our country is headed. You'd think they'd be more interested in the election, and that in itself is disconcerting in many ways. Over on Newsmax, they said Wall Street Journal, midterms may bring a GOP wave of victories. I don't know if it's going to be a wave of victories, but I probably think that they're going to make strong headroads in Congress, and it's a strong potential they're going to control Congress here shortly. Maybe also Senate, but probably Congress is pretty likely. Let's see here. This website called 538.com kind of came to popularity for forecasting in the 2008 election, and I think some of the 2010. They had an article in the New York Times. 538 standing for 538 members of Congress, so helping to do early predictive work. Looks like Colorado may go back to being a Republican right-leaning state. It's been kind of more left-wing for a while after being a very conservative state for a long time. So I think there's going to be a lot more pendulum states like this. They're going to swing back and forth, and Colorado's probably going to again swing back to be more conservative. They've had quite a few more left-wing type politicians and whatnot in power, and I think this is probably a spot-on comment. They're going to become more conservative here. This is a little thing on Shadow Stats where he's talking about how the economy is really doing. This is from John Williams. I want to check this out. But again, in general, I've been surprised by the shortage of information. So I see as two good resources this Bing tool on the House, both the Senate and governor predictions for this midterm, and also the Gallup polls. Gallup's usually a pretty solid polling company. They don't have a lot of information that they usually have right up front here. These seem very favorative toward Obama. Disapproval rating, in my opinion, is much higher than 54%, especially after this bungling of the Ebola problem, and it's still not fixed. Here it is right here. Americans' confidence in government to handle Ebola drops. Yeah, when they find out in about 1 or 2 months from now the actual how they're not stopping it and containing it in West Africa, and how they're still allowing the planes to fly everywhere, in spite of everybody wanting a travel ban. Pretty much everyone wants a travel ban, and then Obama's like, no, we're not going to have a travel ban to West Africa. I mean, just a million things where he's out of touch. So I would think that Obama's disapproval rating is probably in reality like 65% or more significant than that. And that's going to really put a crunch on the Democrats. Anyhow, so those are some things. Usually, again, if you dig around on Gallup, you might find some interesting polling data. But I think this is probably fairly accurate. I don't know if it's going to be this extreme of a Republican sweep, but it looks like they're in position to make very strong inroads on the House of Representatives, Congress, and possibly also the Senate. Likely, the House of Representatives will be controlled by the Republicans in a few months here. And the Senate is a possibility, or a close tie in the Senate. Thanks so much. Forecast Year signing off. Be sure to check out our website, forecastyear.com. There's some good resources there. And also, please follow us on Twitter. Please subscribe to us on YouTube. We really appreciate the support. If you like this thing, this predictive video, please click the like button. There's not a lot of information about polling and what direction this thing's headed in as far as the election. And so just getting this information out there, because we're really all about trying to make solid, good quality predictions. Whether they're predictions we like or not, as far as the outcome, again, we try to be an amalgam of good quality predictions based on information coming in from other news agencies. Thanks so much.